Welcome back to my G1 Retro Reviews. Today we're taking a look at the original Transformers series episode, Day of the Machines. In this episode, Megatron and the Decepticons take control of the most powerful computer in the world, TORQ-3. Man, do I wish I had a powerful computer, then I wouldn't have to do these video reviews at work. But anyways, we begin this episode with a security guard taking a bunch of objects off of someone's desk and putting them in the lost and found.
Boy, the absent-minded professors around here. Always forgetting stuff.
I don't get it. Why wouldn't you just leave the stuff on the desk? This is obviously somebody's office. Why would you take their stuff from their office? It'd be like if someone took my Transformers from my office at work. And then I'd be like, why did you take my Transformers? They're my toys on my desk in my office. Don't touch my things. But anyways, in case it wasn't obvious, this is actually Soundwave and Megatron in a violin case. The wiki says it's a guitar case, but come on, that'd be a pretty small guitar. Besides, this is probably a reference to that old trope of gangsters hiding guns in violin cases, which is actually rooted in reality. Because apparently in the 20s, the 1920s, not the 2020s obviously, gangsters would in fact use violin cases to smuggle guns into places. You know, it's funny, this reminds me of when I went to HasCon. I brought along my gimbal, and its case is kind of violin shaped. And every time I went through security, the security guard made me open it up, and then asked me what it was, and then I had to explain it to them. But anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent. So Soundwave ejects Laserbeak, who transforms into his bird mode. And I think this is one of the few times where we see one of Soundwave's cassettes both transform and mass shift at the same time. This is the only time that I can think of off the top of my head. This is also the only time that I can think of where Megatron can be seen as a human-sized gun in the cartoon. Every other time, he's a Transformers-sized gun. Also, why did Megatron and Soundwave go through the trouble of getting put in the Lost and Found when they were already inside the building? Also, how'd they get inside and on the desk in the first place? And why bother with any of this anyways, if they're just going to fly onto the top of the next building and blast a hole in the roof? Why not just fly in and avoid all this pointless stealth? What, were they caught up in a game of real-life prop hunt? So, anyways, Megatron hacks TORQ using this thing that extends out of his head, which looks really weird to me, but I guess it would look even weirder if it came out of someplace else. So they attach Wi-Fi carts to all the machines in the facility for TORQ to control. We then see the main scientist behind TORQ-3, Dr. Paul Gates, expressing his concerns to a colleague about the project. And as you may have guessed, Paul Gates' name is actually a combination of Paul Allen and Bill Gates' names, the co-founders of Microsoft. Megatron then uses his Wi-Fi adapters and TORQ to take control of a bunch of oil tankers. All the oil tankers being directed by a computer to go out into the middle of the ocean reminds me of Superman 3 and how that was basically the same as the villain scheme in that movie. Or at least one of their schemes. That movie is kind of all over the place. So the Autobots come to investigate, but they end up calling the Dinobots for help, which is the second episode in a row where the Autobots needed to call the Dinobots for backup. I guess Hasbro was really trying to push those Dinobot toys.
We found this on one of the tanks.
A remote control circuit linker.
So TORQ can dominate any device bearing one of those.
He says as Optimus sticks it up his sleeve. Seriously, how does he know that TORQ can't control him, too? For a brief moment, Skyfire almost transforms into a Jurwalk-type mode while letting Hound and Spike out, which is kind of appropriate since his G1 toy was a repaint of a Robotech Macross fighter. Wait, did Skyfire let Hound and Spike out of his crotch? Does that mean... No, better not think too much about it and just move on. When the Autobots use the oil tanker as a Trojan horse to get past the Decepticons' shield, we see who is supposed to be Hook, but he's colored yellow instead of the usual Constructicon green. Maybe he's in his G2 colors? Also, doesn't town care about the environmental impact spilling all that oil will have? Back with the Autobots fighting TORQ's machines, we can briefly see Sideswipe with his helmet miscolored red instead of black. I kind of like Sideswipe with a red helmet. He reminds me of someone, but I can't think of who at the moment.
Oh, great. Caged like helio hamsters at the Cybertron Zoo.
Helio hamsters? Aww. So we have guinea pigatrons, zap mice, and now helio hamsters? What is it with the last few episodes and cute little Cybertronian rodents? Now I want there to be a Cybertronian pet store where you can buy all these cute little pets.
How can this be?
While you were busy bragging, I slipped a dead circuit linker card into your robot's hand.
So I guess Optimus had a trick up his sleeve? And much like in the last episode, Megatron chooses to blow up their floating fortress in an effort to try and destroy the Autobots with it. But of course, they all safely escape before the platform is destroyed. This was an okay episode. Again, it's weird how much this reminds me of the plot of Superman 3. I wonder if David Wise had that movie in the back of his head when he wrote this episode. And yes, this is another episode by the late David Wise. And apparently he reused this same plot in other cartoons, including an episode of He-Man also titled Day of the Machines, which was about the villain of that show, Skeletor, taking over a supercomputer as well. Although I'd say it had more in common with another upcoming David Wise Transformers episode. What about you? What do you think? So, as always, be sure to let me know what you thought of this episode of G1 down in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff. And I'll see you next time for the next episode of the original Transformers series, Enter the Nightbird. Yes, I am very much looking forward to this one. So, see you next week for that.